Mental health is promoted only to make us tolerate capitalism. I do understand that mental health is important, and it's good that more people are talking about it, but it seems like we are placing the burden of taking care of one's mental health on individuals, rather than the collective. I keep hearing stuff like self-help, self-care, resilience, cognitive behavioral therapy, meditation, mindfulness, exercise, slow breathing, etc. But all of these tools only help us to cope with adversaries and regulate our emotions. They don't help us confront adversaries that affects our mental health in the first place. These can even be harmful because it make us content with adversaries. By changing the way we think and feel, somehow the world will become a better place? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not really well versed in the concepts of capitalism. But I know that capitalism promotes competition, globalization, and consumerism, which can make us miserable and lonely. Many people are out chasing success and finding opportunities abroad, at a cost of uprooting established social connections. And then there's also putting up with issues at work. Sometimes overtime is encouraged and pay is low, rather than fighting for change. People are encouraged to just leave the job or practice self-care. And I know these kinds of things is further worsened because of economic stagnation and recession. From the pandemic and also from the 2008 recession. I am not saying self-care is not important. I think it is when we want to continue to live. I think it's just as important to question the world we live in and push for change. Because self-care and individual-based mental health can distract us from systemic issues in society. How can anyone be mentally stable doing 5 days a week of menial labor? Forever? It's impossible. So people take speed and antidepressants to zonk themselves out. Agreed. The easiest solution is to shove someone onto antidepressants. Not slamming them, by the way. I've been on them for years and they really help. And not address the underlying issues that cause it in the first place: capitalism, wage slavery, exploitation, etc. The drugs keep us normal enough to still continue to be wage slaves, but don't help our overall life because we are still stuck in the system. CBT is used to treat PTSD, among other things. It doesn't really belong on this list. It's true that a lot of therapy and mental health help just treats the damage done by the system, and don't affect root causes. The best approach I've heard is just to be open about it like you are here. We still need to treat the damage, even if the treatment won't stop it. But we need to remember to go after the source too. It's worse when you realize mental health is an industry in itself. Capitalism, in its current form, ruins everything good in the world by trying to sell solutions to the problems it causes in the first place. We need to regulate against greed. It's the worst coping tool, and I envy those that make the efforts not to fall into it. I do feel awful for those that are debilitated in whatever way by their mental health. Edit. It sucks. Just to elaborate, I'm not debilitated, but I fully just energized to work. It's not a way to live. Strictly speaking, mental health is assessed by one's ability to be a positively contributing member of society. It is a measure of how well the person can work, not necessarily how happy the person is. So, yes, I think you are right. You're right. I'm sure there are better ways of dealing with our mental health. Does anyone know Ignacio Martinbaro? They 100% help you confront the issues. One of the classes I've taken at group therapy was setting boundaries and how to confront them. I did a 21-day program that was at a day hospital from 103. I was on short-term disability while taking it. I came out of it amazing and empowered. I've been thriving ever since. So yes, mental health programs do help. Economic stagnation and recession from the pandemic. There wasn't economic stagnation or a recession in the US from the pandemic. It was an economic boom thanks to the large amounts of stimulus spending. I mean, I wouldn't write therapy off as being completely capitalist, especially when most Americans can't afford it. But I do get and agree with the value that it feels like capitalism has co-opted mental health as a way to increase our labor functionality. When in truth, why can't it be acceptable for us to be debilitated by stress or depression for a week sometimes? In a society where people are unemployed so that others can work 2 jobs so both can still be poor, it's ridiculous that we can't take time to be with our feelings, positive or negative. That is why the wellness industry still exists. It is a scheme that provides the function of a coping mechanism. Notice that it emphasizes individuality and seeks solutions within oneself instead of examining the impact of societal conditions. Actually, I find that it tends to divert attention from the collective to the individualistic. I wonder who that benefits. Spiritualism is the opioid of the masses. Every time I leave therapy, I have a bittersweet feeling. I know I'm taking steps to improve myself, but I can't help but feel a bit strange to be told to focus on myself when I say to my therapist that society depresses and worries me. The same counselor that I had to jump through hoops to be able to see. I respect him for his work and he helps a lot, but sometimes it feels a bit pointless. I recognize the point, but I'd like to emphasize that self-care has allowed me to set better boundaries at work and in life. Those boundaries have allowed me to remove some of the toxins from my environment. While mental health is typically a way for employers, management to put the burden of their will onto us, it's also a maliciously compliant key to success. I could hear my manager internally shout, "But not like that," when I used my responsibility to my mental health to tell her I would no longer accept working late when they can't seem to hire anyone else. You're generalizing. Cognitive behavioral therapy is for that. Psychodynamic therapy is not. I see mental health like physical health. Sometimes there's a genetic issue or some natural cause for illness. Sometimes it is because of the system we are in. As an example, cancer in hominids has been found in a 1.7 million-year-old fossil. But we also have strong evidence of cancers caused by improper disposal of toxic waste. Same with mental health. Some brain chemistries will always have it, regardless of the environment, but sometimes it's because of mental toxins in our life. It's okay because all the upper class that rape everything from us are only practicing self-care. Get your bag and shut up. This reminds me of one of my favorite quotes. It's actually from a socialist: "A sane person to an insane society must appear insane." Kurt Vonnegut. I should mention that Kurt's favorite quote was likely similar. As long as there is a lower class, I am in it. As long as there is a criminal element, I'm of it. As long as there is a soul in prison, I am not free. Eugene V. Debs. Another socialist. I presume you'd benefit from looking into either of them. The opiate of the masses, a pain-soothing balm intended to keep us going through it all. I understand what you're saying. The root cause of mental illness is not that we are not taking care of ourselves, that is the symptom. The root cause of mental illnesses is the society constructed promotes the very issues that cause us to spiral out. It's easy to control a society when you push the self-care propaganda. Yes, it is important to care for yourself, but being more self-involved as opposed to uniting together as a collective makes us a lot easier to control. Now that we know the problem, how do we solve it? A national telecom here in Canada has something called company name. Let's talk once a year to bring attention to mental health issues. It's a charade and a marketing plan. A couple of years ago, they laid off a number of staff immediately after their annual campaign.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. PaulTheAquarist is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.